Good morning. It is Sunday, February 23rd. It's exactly a week since I did my last video. And I was thinking all week, I was actually trying to squeeze one in sooner, but today is when it worked out, which is fine. So I was thinking of what topic, and I came up with a few topics that I wanted to talk about, but I don't know why today just one specific topic came up or came to mind, which is it's one word actually. It's perfection. And that word perfection can have many meanings, but the form or the way that I was thinking about it in was what perfection is to me, or what I feel is when something is completed or done perfectly. And that has evolved and changed for me throughout my life, because I guess I never looked at it that way. As an adult, I started looking at it that way, because when things were done and they weren't done, properly, or a mistake occurred, or the end result didn't happen because it wasn't done properly, or what I envisioned as properly or perfect. Sometimes it was a failure, or sometimes it was a blessing, or sometimes something better came out of it. So I started to change the word from perfect to complete. So I started to realize that I need to accept that things are completed. They don't have to be perfect. Because part of, another topic that I wanted to talk about was how nothing is forever. So I guess I always thought of like the long term, and I want to purchase this because I want to have it forever, or I don't want to lease, or I don't want to rent because it's a waste of money, and why don't I just buy and then I own it forever? But then we don't exist forever, so we're not alive forever. So eventually I'm not going to be here. So why do I need to purchase that or own that? And I always thought I do because I want to leave it for my kids. Like, I want to make their lives easier. I want to facilitate things for my kids and my grandkids. So again, it also goes tied in with perfection. So if I do these steps perfectly and they line up, and I leave things perfect for them, then they'll be good. They won't suffer. They won't sacrifice. They won't struggle. But then, as I've been growing and evolving, and I realize that the struggle is the meaningful part. The struggle is what makes you grow. The struggle is what helps you evolve and become the person who you become at the end. Because I think everything is like a building block. Like, we keep building our personalities, ourselves, our lives, one block on top of another block. And we grow, and sometimes our priorities change. So like, my priority was perfection. I wanted to be perfect. I wanted to complete this perfectly, because in my mind, as long as I do this perfectly, then I'm not going to have to circle back to redo it, or to act upon it again, or to fix it, because it was done perfect the first time. But that doesn't exist. Perfection does not exist. So my perfection, like, if I'm going to complete this homework assignment perfectly to my standards of perfect, but then I can hand it in, and then the teacher's going to be like, it's C work. So wait a second. For me, that was A+ work, but for you, that was C work. And I had this conversation with a group of my friends the other day, or a few weeks back, when we got together, and it actually had to do with actual school, college. An assignment that we handed in, and we thought we were definitely going to get an A plus, and each of us spoke about a situation that had happened to us, but each situation was different. So mine, for example, when I was talking about mine, I was, I wrote this beautiful letter and or essay and report, and I handed it in. I said, this is going to be an A. An A. It was, I don't even remember. I think it was a D. And I was like, a D? I never got a D in my life. What happened? What is this? It was beautifully written. I took so much time. I knew it was perfect. So, I went to the teacher and I asked what happened. Like, why did I get a D? I thought this was an A paper. And it was funny because the teacher said, this was beautifully written. This was a beautiful paper, but you wrote it in the Spanish grammar. So I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, it's in English. The words are in English, but you utilized the Spanish grammar instead of English, which English is very raw and plain, but Spanish, it sounds beautiful. It flows, it goes, like, it sounds great. She's like, don't get me wrong, it sounds great, but it's not written in the correct grammatical form. So that's why, my grade wasn't what it was. And I thought, well, so my perception of perfect was because it sounded good, because that's how it sounds in Spanish, and I can write it in Spanish like that. So my other friend was talking about her, she was in college, and same thing, she handed this form, she was so happy, she thought she was going to get, an A, and then she got it back, and I believe she said she got a D, and she went to the teacher, hey, what happened? Like, why did I get a D? I thought this was good. And the teacher said, let me see. And he took the paper, the essay, and said, let me review it again, and I'll give it back to you, and I'll get back to you. So he took it back, he reviewed it, and then I think she said she got an A or a B, something like that. So he changed the grade. So when she said that story, I was like, so what happened then? Like, why did he change the grade? Like, why? And she was like, well, I just, fell in the curb. Like, he had so many students. It was a class with over 100 kids, I guess, and he just didn't read it. So it wasn't that she did a bad essay. It was that he didn't read it. So again, hers was for a different reason. He didn't even read it. This time he read it, and then he gave her the appropriate grade for the assignment. Now that is different perceptions of perfect. Obviously it's different scenarios. My assignment was read and reviewed. Hers was not. So someone else who may have had their assignment read and got, a B or a C, or vice versa, someone that didn't have their assignment read and the person got a B and thought they did great, and then it was not a well-written assignment. It's where confusion, comes, and then people have that expectation that, well, I'm good, or they feel that they give themselves this stature because, well, I'm perfect, I don't make mistakes, everything I do is perfect. And I don't know, I don't want to say I never had that expectation of myself, because I am my worst critic and I put myself down for many things, and I feel that I make many mistakes, but I do strive to be perfect. And I do find that there's times that someone else would do something and I'm like, can't believe they messed that part of it up, and it's so simple. Like, why did they mess that up? Because for me, it's simple and that would make it perfect. But then they could have fulfilled a different part that I don't look at, and that was perfect to them, when that little part that I would have done differently and seemed so simple and easy to do is not significant to this person. So everything is perception. So I realized that, what? My husband did the dishes. He didn't do them how I would do them. So for me, I felt that they were not perfect, but they're done. They're completed. They're clean. If I need to rinse it because there's some crumb on it or whatever, am I going to make a big deal out of it? Am I going to blow it out of proportion? Am I going to fight about it? The old me would. And then the new me said, hey, like, let it go. Like, what's the important part? And part of it is all these podcasts and all these people that I listen to now that sometimes, they'll make suggestions like, think about the situation. Are you going to care about it in a year, 2 years, 5 years from now? Are you going to look back and be like, I can't believe my husband didn't do the dishes right? That's why I left him, because he didn't do the dishes right. No, like, is it that significant? Is it life-changing? It's not life-changing. So let it be and move on. Like, this one lady on a podcast said, is it, and I think it was on one of Jay Shetty's podcasts, she said, is it the end of the world if your husband throws his clothes on the floor and it doesn't fall in the hamper? Like, is it gonna kill you to pick it up and put it in the hamper? Like, put it in the hamper. Are you gonna end your marriage? Or are you gonna end, your happiness because for something that would take you 2 seconds? And I get it. It's things that build up, because then it's like, it's the laundry, it's the garbage, it's the cleaning, it's, taking care of himself, it's leaving the toilet seat. Like, it's stuff that accumulates. I get it. So it's not that it's so easy, but like, let's step back and analyze things, because then we have to look at other aspects of it. So for example, my husband may not do the dishes perfectly, but you know what? I could tell my husband, pick up your daughter, pick up your son, go drop this off, go to the supermarket, go to BJ's, go to restaurant. Like, I can ask him to do something and he'll drop what he's doing and he'll do it. Now, may he do the dishes right or the way I think is right? Maybe not, but he does all these other things that alleviate or eliminate me from completing them, and things that I don't like to do. So if he goes to BJ's and gets me the products that I need, what's the problem? And don't get me wrong, there were times where he would go and I give him a list and then he'll bring something wrong or not the right amount. So what do? You learn. So, okay, let me take a picture of the item and let me send it to him. So I make sure, and he makes sure he's bringing the exact item that I'm asking for. Write down the amount of items that I need. And he's learned from it too, because now he'll like send me a picture and say, this is what they have. Or he'll FaceTime me and say, this is what it is. It's not the exact picture you have, but it says this, and etc. Or it's not the amount that you asked for. They only have this amount. So it works both ways. So he helps me and I help him, and we come to we get to a spot where perfection is not even a word we use anymore. A word we would use is completion. Was it completed? Did it happen? Did it occur? Yes, it happened, it occurred, it was fulfilled. Let's keep it moving. And that's it. So this is just like one aspect of perfection. The word perfection, that I was looking at. So maybe think about it. Think about what perfect looks like to you. Or it may be something that doesn't even have value for you. Because it did have value for me. Or at least I thought it did. Or I felt like I was aspiring for perfection. Like, if I'm not going to complete it, I'm not going to complete it at all. There were times that I felt like I need to learn from the bottom up to like be able to train someone. Like when I was in banking, I need to start from the bottom as a teller, customer service, assistant manager, then like I became an auditor. And I always felt like I couldn't become an auditor if I don't know what the tellers are doing. Like, how can I audit them if I don't know what their job entails? The older I get, I realize I don't need to know everything, because things change. So what was being done when I was a teller was not being done anymore, because now they have different systems, different software, different computers, just different technology that I have to learn. So why do I feel like I have to be perfect, or I have to start learning everything? And I need to learn to delegate, because that was part of the perfect completion of things. Like, well, if I don't do it myself, it's not going to be done. But I have to delegate things. And there are times that I find like, let me assign this to my husband to do, but I hope he does it right. And I thought, you know what? he is going to do it right. And if he doesn't, then he's going to have to fix it. And you know what? Maybe that's a learning process for him. So we're all learning, always. I'm learning to allow someone else to do something that may not turn out how I would have completed it. It may turn out better than I would have completed it. They may excel what I felt was perfect. So let's just change that word of perfection or perfect to complete. Let's just make sure we complete this. Like my workouts. Today I went to work out and the TV screen wasn't working. And I was like, oh, no, I'm not going to look at my numbers. But the girl was like, no, you'll get your numbers on the app. Don't worry. Like, you'll be able to see it when we're done with the class. I was so used to looking at my numbers throughout the class. Am I elevated? Am I not? Because sometimes I am exhausted and I'm sweating and I can't breathe. And then I'm in the gray, which gray means like I'm in a relaxed state. I'm like, I'm not gray. I'm orange. I'm red right now. So I couldn't see it throughout the whole class. And then I'm like, oh, can't believe this. Then I got out of class and I looked at the numbers and I'm like, oh, I was in the orange for 3 minutes, because it tells you like how many minutes you're in it. And I did feel that I was up there. But then I thought, wow, maybe I should not look at the screen more often, because I felt that maybe I pushed myself more because I couldn't see the screen. So it's like what I thought was annoying me, which was that I couldn't see it on the screen because it wasn't working, actually ended up pushing me. So let's think about what we feel about a certain situation in the beginning or throughout it, and then let's reanalyze that situation at the end and think, oh, it wasn't so bad. It turned out better. So that was my topic for today, which actually ran into a few different things. And again, perfection can mean many things, and can be interpreted in many different ways. So for me, I have gotten rid of the word perfect and reintroduced complete, because that's what I'm worried about nowadays. Not that things turn out perfectly, but that things get completed. That's enough for me. That's it. I hope you have an amazing Sunday. Let's make it a productive one. And I'm gonna walk into work now. All right, till next time. Hopefully I'll get one in this week on my way to work or before I start work. Have an amazing day. Have a productive one. Talk to you later next time. Bye-bye.